Does Bernie Sanders have a better shot at getting the Democratic nomination this time around?
I think not. I'm afraid that for once in my life, maybe the second time, I have to agree with Donald Trump. He missed his time, unfortunately. And one wonders why he's running again. I think the answer may be twofold. On the one hand, he's got an address book with lots and lots of names of people who will give lots and lots of small contributions, which will indeed make a contribution to the candidacy, but at the same time could have a negative effect on the attempt to disengage another candidate, a unified candidate, rather than split up the party. So that's what makes him run, I think. And perhaps the second thing, maybe quite simply, this is a man who's run all of his life, who came from nowhere. He is a democratic socialist, but he's a democratic socialist in the way of the early 19th century. I found recently on YouTube a production by Bernie Sanders in which he reads eloquently the speeches of Eugene V. Debs, who was the Socialist Party candidate for president in 1912, and the socialist who won the largest percentage of the votes in the history of America in 1912. Bernie reads them with his Brooklyn accent. It's wonderful to listen to him, but my God, it's over a century ago.
Could his candidacy push the other Democratic candidates further to the left?
I think that the Democratic candidates were pushed to the left by his performance in 2016. Now, I think that there's a mobilization, not simply of the candidates, there's a mobilization of the public. And one wonders, is that mobilization the result of his running against Hillary Clinton in the primary in 2016, or is that mobilization a question of a simple reaction to the atrocious policies and atrocious manner of addressing the American public by the man who sits, unfortunately, in the Oval Office?
Now, Donald Trump has tapped into this America, which we didn't know existed, this rage of the white man. Should the Democrats come up with a candidate that's totally different from Donald Trump, a woman of color?
Excuse me, let me go back to your premise for 1 second. You said this America that we didn't know exists, this white America.
This rage amongst white America, which we didn't know existed.
It seems to me that we knew it, but we didn't want to recognize it all the time. That's one of the reasons that I wrote that book with a subtitle, From Kennedy to Trump, and I actually went back to the time of the Confederacy. But to answer your question, do we need a black candidate, a woman, an Afro-American candidate, a woman candidate? We have some of them running, and that's perhaps one of the virtues of the primary system. We'll see whether, for example, Ms. Harris will emerge, or whether Elizabeth Warren with her program of a wealth tax, or whether perhaps Cory Booker, the former mayor of Newark, New Jersey, a black man, will he manage to come up with a, how should one say, a racial, transgendered, trans whatever candidacy that unites the Democratic Party? We are now, 13 months before we really get to anything like a person-to-person campaign, when we actually get to the point where the primaries have disengaged a candidate. So let's watch. Let's say, thank you, Bernie. You did a wonderful thing in 2016. Perhaps you ought to ask yourself, you're 77 years old. The one category that you there on the television didn't ask me about with regard to Bernie is the age factor. Do we need an older and more mature person as president? Bernie is 77. That's not young. You may reply to me, yes, that's what they said about Ronald Reagan. He would have been 70, they said, when he was elected elected president. It didn't matter. He did win, and he did play the role of a sort of an elder statesman, an elder who would calm the rushing waters of America.
Now, I don't know if you heard the story we played before coming to you, but we had a soundbite in there of Donald Trump who sort of welcomed Bernie Sanders' candidacy. Why so? Because Donald Trump has poked fun at other candidates, like Elizabeth Warren, for instance. Is he scared of Bernie Sanders?
In a curious way, the point that I made about Bernie being a sort of a reapparition of Eugene V. Debs, the socialist candidate of 1912. I think that this may be a candidate that Donald Trump doesn't understand because he represents something that predates the kind of entertainment or politics as entertainment, which brought him, Donald Trump, such success. And perhaps Bernie does have a chance precisely because he is an anachronism. Precisely, it might be said that Bernie will make America, perhaps not make America great again, but make America think again about those values which were hers back when she was really still a republic.
We'll see what happens. Dick Howard, thank you very much for joining us on the program from New York today.
Thank you.